in Wiccan circles and in Druidry, where people would create a circle. But this essentially cuts out all middlemen. So you're not talking to the goddess of the waterfall or the tree, the elegy of it. But it is trees, actually. It's very specifically connecting with Source through Mother Earth and through all the elements that exist through Mother Earth. There's 5, which is earth, air, fire, water, and spirit.
Welcome to Guide to Spirituality's podcast with me, Stacey Bauer. It's a down-to-earth space where we talk all things spiritual. Each episode, I'm joined by guests from all walks of life to share real experiences, practical tools, and honest conversations about healing, growth, and the unseen spiritual world. Whether you're just starting out or you're deep on your journey, this podcast is here to support your path with insight, connection, and that little bit of magic. Today, I'm joined by Dionne Brammah from Earth Magic Healing. She's a gifted healer whose journey through deep grief led her to a powerful path of spiritual work. We talk honestly about loss, healing, and the surprising ways that spirit finds us, even in our darkest moments. Dionne also shares how the Green Man became appearing in her sessions, bringing grounding and strength. In this heartfelt, raw and real conversation, I'm honoured to share Dionne's story. Hello, Dionne. Thank you very much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, I would like to let our listeners know just who you are at the moment, just because as we're talking, I think it'll become apparent that we know each other quite well. So your partner, Mattie, that sadly passed away, is my husband's cousin. And we have known, obviously, each other for quite a long time. And I will say that Mattie is very much a character. And if anybody ever met him, he will never forgotten. Let's put it like that, shall we? From his dark sense of humour and crazy sense of humour to his odd bloody ways, let's put it like that, at some points. Now, like I say, Mattie sadly lost his life. And that in itself took you back to your healing and your spiritual route. Is that correct? I've said that correct, Anna.
Yeah.
So can you just explain to people, one, how you managed to get yourself to a point of I can now start to heal others, but how did spirituality help you heal? That's what I want to get across.
Right. So obviously, when Mattie passed, it was incredibly shocking, and I genuinely thought I'd never ever come round from it, and it just smashed us all at the smithereens. Everybody, it just absolutely. I mean, it annihilated me to the point where I had to stop doing my job. However, in that time that I stopped work, I did a lot of walking. I had many conversations with you, as you know, and I went for a chakra balance when I was completely stuck, and it just helped me make that step forward. That I literally felt like I was cemented to the world, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't live without him, and it helped that much that even though it was just like a small sort of increment in my healing where I could just say, right, I can actually get up now tomorrow, and I know that I'm doing that already. I didn't have to get up, which is what happens with grief, obviously. You get up and sometimes you're working 10 minutes to 10 minutes to 10 minutes and getting on with it. But it helped that much that I thought, it's really worthwhile doing that. Not knowing at the time that I was going to be doing it, but at the same time, from around, he passed away on 14th of December in 2021, and I think I started going to Heber Street Spiritualist Church about, I think it was sort of January, February, and the reason that I started going there was, I'd seen something on telly where there were a medium giving messages, and I thought, if I just go there and I can hear other people getting messages, not thinking for a second that Mattie had been coming through, which she didn't for a while, because obviously they'd only just passed over. But I just hearing messages coming through, and then he obviously, as we went along, I got a couple of messages from him, and I know that, you know, you'd helped a lot with contact and things with him. And then like, I don't know, I think it was about 8 months after he passed that I went for my first reading, and it just really massively helped me. But the thing that I found really difficult, and I still find it difficult to an extent, is that when I were in really deep grief, I was getting messages from Spirit, from Mattie and from other loved ones in Spirit, being told that I were a healer and that I was going to do this. I was going to help people. And it sort of made me annoyed at the time, because I was like, I'm struggling to get up out of bed in the morning. I don't know what you want me to do. How am I supposed to do this? Yeah. So it felt like a little bit of pressure. But even though all my life I've seen Spirit and I've heard Spirit and I've known they're about, and I've never not believed in Spirit, it's always been a belief. But in those first months, it will literally, like, you can tell me whatever you want, but I'm not. That's not happening.
You know? Fair enough. So let's fast forward a little bit then, only because your journey to me is quite incredible, really. I mean, you are a massive healer. I mean, you're a very, very good healer. I mean, I know I've come to you before in like states of like, I don't know what's happening, and you're like, well, you're that far up here, there's no grounding to you at all, and you've pulled me back to what we would call like earth. But I know at a point, I remember having a healing with you where I laid in your healing space where you are now, and I laid there, and I remember you putting your hands on my shoulders and me feeling like this overwhelming all of a sudden of sickness. But I'd gone that high, and at one point I had to ask my guides. I'd gone so dizzy. I'd gone like, I don't know what's happening, and I had to ask my guides, am I passing away? Am I passing over? Am I dying? And I remember my guides going, you're not dying, just relax, you're all right. And when I came round, I said to us, I thought I was dying. And you went, I know. You went like tissue paper. And it was the strangest thing, but one of the best experiences and best healings I've ever had. It were amazing.
Yeah. That's good. It wasn't my best experience, Stacey Bauer.
So, how you heal now, you use the green man a lot with healing, don't you? Explain to me how that came about.
Oh, there's something, the way that I want to explain it is simply by chance.
Simply by chance.
It started coming in when I were doing chakra balancing, and I said, and the last that I were doing the chakra balancing on, I've not had any, you know, I've not been for any training about the green man. I thought I were making it up when it first happened, but because I know the lass that was with me, and she's, you know, she's very open to spirit herself. I said, I'm not being funny. I says, but the green man's just been here. And what had happened was, while I was doing the sort of grounding and everything, he just came and stood at the side of me. And I knew who he was, because it's like I instantly knew that it was his energy, because it's an energy that I've always known but didn't realise what it was, if you see what I mean.
See what you mean, yeah.
But I could physically see him, and I can describe him really clearly. And he just stood at the side of me, and I was like, are you the green man? And you were like, yeah. And he'd just come along to sort of help me. It's like it's helping me channel the earth energy. I tried to explain it in a live the other day on the page, and I had to watch it back, because I like that just sounds like a complete load of gobbledygook. But basically, it just came in, and is there now every time I do it. So I've called it Green Man Healing in respect to him, because that's who's helping me. He's helping me channel this energy, and he's also helping me letting me know where it needs to go and how long I need to sit with it, and do I need to do anything else. He guides me through the whole thing. There's been a couple of times where he's like, I felt like his energy's been moving away a little bit, and I've gone, don't you leave me with this. I don't know what, I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, but you do know what you're doing because you're doing it. He's always there. He oversees the healing and helps me to make sure that the person that's there is getting what they need. And I wouldn't let anybody leave until I knew that they were fully cleansed, that they were fully balanced, and they'd had as much healing as I could possibly channel through them. So he just comes in, and it's just been a natural process. It's not something that we're trained for.
What do you think is next? What are you going to do next, do you think?
Well, I've started doing, I've already done a chakra balance workshop, which I really enjoyed. Because in my past, when I start in my past life, in my life before Mattie passed, I'd worked as pastoral support and a year leader, looking after a year group in a local secondary school for 18 years. And one of my favourite parts of that job were if I got to do like group work with the students. Things to help them with anxiety, we'd do anti-bullying groups, stuff like that. So it's always something that sat very well with me. And when I did it, although I was quite forced into it, I was told by you, that's what you're doing, Dionne. And I was like, yeah, whatever, Stacey. All right, then. And I did it. And I'm really grateful that you did sort of push me towards doing it, because I don't honestly think that I would have just taken it upon myself to go and do it. But it's one of those natural things again, that it's like the natural progression. I learn. I want other people to know how to do it, because then they can show other people how to do it. Because it's in those depths of grief that I was in when I went for that first chakra balance, it just helped me so much, and I know how important it is. So, I'm going to be following on with other workshops, and I don't see it as teaching, it's just like sharing information.
That's it, sharing your knowledge so that other people can feel the benefit.
Yeah. The other thing, sorry, no, you want to ask me a question?
Oh, it's fine.
You should have known, Stacey, that if I got on here, I wasn't going to shut up. It would either not shut up or start beefing at some point. But we're all right, I'll just ramble on. Right. The other thing that's recently happened with the Green Man healing is, now, I know you know how I didn't believe this when it happened at the time, but I had a golden ray attunement.
Yes.
I completely believe that this happened now. At the time, I started crying. I was in like, what do you want me to do with that? What am I supposed to do with that? I don't know what this is. I'd seen this, I'd been putting this big DNA, like fiery loop, while I was just sat meditating quietly for 10 minutes in my garden. The source, the sun was above me. Then I got moved away. I was shown the earth that I was in, that I was on, and all the ley lines just came up. To me at the time, when I was still really, I'm saying I was still really grieving. I mean, I'm always going to grieve. I'm still grieving now. It don't mean I'm okay just because I'm doing all this stuff. But it were really quite, it overwhelmed me completely. And I know I had a conversation with you at the time, and I knew it were really important, because the first thing I did was, when I stopped crying and being ridiculous, were draw what I'd seen and write down how I felt and everything. Now, what's happening is, I did a golden man. Who's that? I'm making stuff up now. Did a Green Man healing the other day, and as I got to the point where we were putting the bubble of protection around, my hands just went like that, and I was like, right, what am I doing this for? And then the solar sun was brought down, and I had to go really gently through this person and bring that healing energy through before we did the the protection. So I know that that's now coming in, and I just feel as though I always bring a chakra balance in a healing session anyway, because I feel it's important for the person to know where they were at the start. And I do check them at the end, even though I know that they're always aligned where they need to be. But I just feel as though I've done different courses with angelic healing. That's another thing that's coming in now. I'm seeing angels, and there's other healing coming through. And I feel as though when I do the healing, I need to just think, it's just whatever's going to come through that I've been privileged enough to be attuned to, then that's what's going to come through, and the person will get what they need when they come. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not thinking about it anymore. I'm not disbelieving it anymore, and I'm not doubting it anymore, because it's not about me. I'm just a little pipey channel thing.
You're just the chat. You're the intermediate, aren't you? The intermediate.
Yeah, that they're bringing in. So I don't question it. I know that, and I fully believe now that whoever's coming for any healing that comes through me, that they'll get exactly what they need.
So do you feel then, I personally feel like sometimes we try and put too much of a name on everything that we're doing. So it has to be this, it has to be known as this. If it's not known as that, then it's not correct, and one thing and another. And I've had this conversation with quite a few people. Now, I don't say that we should all be going on, like running on courses that are accredited or all like that. We've all got to be very careful what we're doing and who we're handing money over to. Because let's face it, there's a lot of things there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of nonsense. Let's be honest, what they're offering is nonsense. However, I do feel it comes from source itself. It comes from universal energy, and it comes from spirit, that we can use whatever they're because we're all going to get taught something that little bit different. And when it comes from spirit, it comes from source. So it can't be wrong what we're being shown. Does that make sense? So, like, you know, if we're passing it over, it doesn't have to be, well, that's called a this or it's that, it's the other. Sometimes spirit just shows, it's like when I do my shamanic work, they'd show me something differently that the angelic realm would show me, but I could blend it together. So what I'd offer would be like shamanic and angelic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of emphasis at the minute that if you've not got a piece of paper to say you can do this, that, and the other, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and do you know something? It's really interesting that you've just said that. Now, I'm not worried. I've done a accredited course. I've done the Seikhem and the 22 chakra course. It's not, and I've done an energy healing course that's accredited. But I don't feel like I need to put those up on my wall, because it's not the important part of what we're doing.
That's it. It's the healing.
And I always use it all the time. I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do by, spending all your time at school and not getting your GCSEs. I could have done so much better. But I came away with not a lot, GCSE-wise. But I knew that when I was going to work every day and looking after my year group and trying to make sure they had the right support, that without any sort of university degree, I could do that naturally.
Yeah.
And it used to annoy me sometimes that some people who had done the university degree and got the formal education that is in what people said that we have to have. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, we need it, fair enough. But it's not everything. And it's not about the whole person, isn't that education? It's about giving you the tools that you need to then become employed in whatever field you want to become employed in. So I'm not saying that nobody should go on an accredited course. I think all I would ever say to anybody who was starting out in any sort of spiritual work is go where you feel interested.
Yeah.
And if it's accredited, and if there's something that you need to be able to practice that, then of course. But if your true feeling is that actually I don't really want to go down that route, I'm not very academic, I'd rather just do something hands-on and work on my own spiritual development for connecting with spirit and connecting with whoever we need, like you've said, with the angels or whatever. I did that angelic healing course. It's not angelic Reiki, it's an angelic healing course. I did it like 18 months ago. And I've never used it, but the angelic realm are only just starting to come into healings when I'm doing them.
Yeah.
So I just feel that whatever we need for the person that's there, it's all about being open to spirit and open to whatever they're going to help come through for that person. And that's what we need. Now, I'm not bothered if people think they don't want to come to me because I don't have accredited whatever. I'm fine with that because there'll be somebody else that they feel more comfortable going to who is accredited. And I completely understand it. And they'll still get the healing, so I don't care who they go to.
Exactly.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost a non-starter, isn't it? You know?
That's it. I just want to be clear that I'm not against anybody being accredited anything. I think in some respects it is needed. However, I do feel though, it's like when people pass on courses and they say they're accredited, naturally they're not. You know, it's that, I think, stop it. Asking people to pay for an accreditation that you can't offer. It's that annoys me. But I just feel sometimes we try and put things into too much of a box, or you can't. I mean, years and years and years ago, before accreditations came, people were still healers. Healers have been now thousands of years.
But the thing is, Stacey, we've all been doing this in all our lives.
Exactly. That's what
it's not the first rodeo.
No.
I've always wanted to sell out in a conversation.
You've only gone and done it.
I haven't done it. But it isn't though, is it? It's just like if it's there and you've got that ability or you feel that you don't have ability, I'll guarantee you that if you think you don't have the ability and you're doubting yourself, you've probably got the ability.
Yeah.
So have a crack at it. If you're doubting yourself and you think, oh, I could never do that. You know, I can remember being in there and it was like, right, you need to just get some cards and then I want you to read them for this person sat opposite you. All that. There's no way in the world. I've had tarot cards. I've had all sorts of different cards. Mattie had bought me cards, even though I thought I were a bit like loony. He still knew that I were interested in it, so he bought me them. And I'd read runes and stuff, but you read from the book with those. I genuinely thought I won't be able to read it. And what I read in those first two cards for the person that were there were absolutely spot on. And then, you know, we go a couple of weeks later and we're asked to connect with spirit and bring some through for whichever three people are there. I got two spirits through, and there's no way in the world I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're not coming from your ego with it, and they want to work with you, and they know that you can, they're going to come in. Anyway, that were a bit of a ramble, so there you go, Stacey.
Hi, I'm just taking a quick break to thank you all so much for listening to the podcast and for all your lovely support. If this episode gave you something to think about or simply felt helpful, you can support future episodes and my tea habit over at Buy Me a Coffee. The link is buymeacoffee.com/guide to spirituality. Every little bit helps me keep creating, sharing and growing this space, and I'm truly grateful. So the thing is now then, so how do you feel then? So when we talk about, you know, the pits of grief that you were in and still sometimes have a big wave a bit. So how would you explain that to people, as in how did the spirituality help you? If somebody else were going through it now and they're like, look, I have no idea what to do you think a lot of people turn to spirituality when somebody's passed for, so that I know that there's something else, I know that they're all right, I know that they've passed somewhere, I know that, that I can get a message to see if they're okay?
I think the biggest, if I get slightly emotional while I'm on about this, just ignore me. The biggest thing is from the spirituality side of it, and whether I were going to go down a spiritual development route, a healing route, whatever, I know that I would have gone for a mediumship reading anyway. Then, because the things that I needed to know were, I needed to know that. I'll just explain. When Mattie passed, he had a sudden brain bleed, and we had 2 market stalls at the minute, and he were actually in his market stall when it happened. So it were all quite sudden. It happened at sort of 8:30 in the morning. I'd just got to work. I got taken back down. And then obviously we were in hospital, and then he passed away at 7:30 the day after. And in the ambulance, as we were driving to before we'd set off to drive to hospital, they'd fastened him down, and I was sat in the front seat, but obviously there's that open window in an ambulance, and I was looking at him all the time while they were trying to get him sorted out, and he could hear me, he could hear people, and he could hear me talking to ambulance driver who were going to drive ambulance while this other paramedic were helping him in back at ambulance. And he pulled his arm out of the strap because it was left side that went, so he pulled his right arm out, and he were reaching his arm back like towards this, what I thought were his head. And I know I've had this conversation with you. Well, this is how important that message from Spirit was for me, and this is why I'm explaining it in detail. Because he pulled his arm back, and I thought, is it going to his head? His head must be hurting, and I just thought it were in loads of pain. And it had preyed on me. You have so many things that prey on your mind in those moments because your head is just completely, you're just so completely shocked. And then we had a reading a while later, and I said, did it hurt him? And I know I was really upset on the phone to you, and I said, well, did it hurt? And you were like, no. And I know that you weren't sure about telling me, but you were actually reaching for me.
For your hand.
And as much as that's really heartbreaking and sad, I was just so glad that he hadn't been in pain, because I'd been sat with him, we'd been propping him up and putting him up. It had just been absolutely horrific for him, you know. I know that he would have hated every single second of that, but I know that now where he is now, I know he's absolutely fine. And the only reason I know that is because I didn't have to. He's always reassured me, emotion-wise, but, you know, coming for readings with you and going for soul retrievals and things like that, I know that he's okay. And I know that as much as all I ever want is for him to be back here with me, wherever he is, I want to be, but that don't mean that I want to die and pass on.
No.
But would I want him to come back here with his diabetes and his ill health and to go through that at a different time? No, I don't want that for him.
No.
So knowing that he's okay and knowing that he's just absolutely fine. He's having, you know, he's having the best afterlife ever, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, once you get sort of through a couple of years and the numbness is sort of worn off, yeah, you're gonna go in and out of it. It's horrific when it happens, but I can function now. I couldn't function, so I know that the spirit realm have helped me with that. I know that, you know, it was spirit that got me off the sofa when I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And shoved my walking boots on my feet. And I walked for miles, and I did mindful walking. And I worked through, you work through your emotions and just doing things that would then make me tired. Yeah. And, you know, and the hard thing about grief is when you know you're doing every single thing that you can do to help yourself heal in some way without that person, because at the end of the day you lose your life when you lose this loved one. Your life goes. It's completely gone. But having that link and being able to, and knowing that they're there and they're okay and that they want you to be all right, so then you try and add for them. So there's something else. I have my grandchildren, obviously, and I've got Boo, as you know, who is actually trying to eat things out of a bag outside of me here. You know, it's quite difficult when you know that you're doing everything that you should do, and you just feel as though you can't continue, but you do continue. And I don't always feel, you know, people say, "Oh, she's a strong person. She's this, is that." No, I genuinely think that if they hadn't had my back, I don't know where I'd have been. Yeah. And it's knowing that they have had such an impact in my healing and will continue to do so. Just as I said, I know I'm always going to grieve, and I know that I'm always going to, you know, I'm always going to love Mattie, and I'm always going to miss Mattie. I'm never going to not do that.
No.
But the fact that I'm at a point where I am now, yeah, fair enough, good friends like yourself, and, you know, grandkids around me and everything, is down to spirit as far as I'm concerned, because however strong you are as a person, I don't know I got through it. I didn't do it on my own, is what I'm saying. I know that.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
So,
Okay.
did any of that answer your question that you asked?
Yeah, it did. I were more thinking that if anybody sat there now going, right, I've just lost my partner, my son, my mum, my uncle, anything, anybody that are close with that's had an impact on their life, you know, and they're thinking, I have no idea what to do. You know, how do you start to think, well, actually, this is what you start to do? So would you suggest, like, well, I would always suggest that they see somebody for healing, always. Even though it's not going to cure them there and then, I do feel like, even if it's just to give yourself that little bit of spiritual healing and allow spirit in to help you, guide you,
Yeah.
then I think that I would always suggest that. But
Yeah. From I can only talk from my point of view, and you know, we've got 2 grown-up lads, and watching them, they dealt with it in completely different ways, but they had to, because they're completely different person in their relationship. Although, you know, Mattie had brought them up, and he with her dad. I understood that they needed to grieve in a different way, and they always will. And same with grandkids. You know, I got them little memory boxes, and we did bits and bobs of stuff to help them. And I always talk to them. We always talk about grandpops. We never don't. And we haven't got to think that we've got to be at a certain stage in our grief at any point. You know, I'm talking now, and I've got slightly emotional during this, but another day, completely different story.
yeah,
I think as long as you do. When my youngest son went back home, when our Reese went back home, because he'd stayed with me for 2 weeks, he didn't want to leave me. I think he thought I was going to do something to myself. And I promised him, and I just said, look, I will get up every morning. And I will make sure that I have a job to do. And every day I will do something. Now, at this point, Mattie had passed away on 14th of December. And we just had his birthday on 5th of November. Then it had been Reese's birthday on 6th of November. He passed away at 14th of December. Then we've got Christmas. Then we've got New Year. And then on the 5th of January, we've got Mattie's funeral.
yes.
Everybody was, his brother and his sisters, nephews and nieces, everybody was just completely devastated. So many people miss this fella, I can't tell you. And just saying to somebody else, I'll get up every morning and I'll make sure that I do something. If that something is that you wash your face, but you don't have a shower, then you haven't achieved something. That's how I did it. And I didn't say, it's strange, because things that have helped me with my grief are things that I used to say to kids when I worked with them. It'd be things like, look, you know, they might have got a telling off in a lesson. You've had a bad morning. I could have got out of bed and just had a complete meltdown in the middle of the staircase and not been able to move for an hour. But that'd be the morning, and then I would have to say to myself, right, I've had a bad morning. I'm not having a bad afternoon. I'd stick my walking boots on and off I'd go. Tired enough then to be able to sleep. But you just haven't got to put any pressure on yourself whatsoever. You've just got to do whatever you can do that day. And if that means that you open your eyes and that's all you do, then you've opened your eyes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. It doesn't matter how everybody else is grieving, because they lost their person and you lost your person. And nobody's grief is worse than another person's. I read quite a bit on grief afterwards, because I was trying to find ways to help myself with bits of quotes and books and things like that. And there's a fella called David Kessler who worked with, I've forgotten her name now, the lady who did the 5 stages of healing. And then he went on to write the 6th stage of healing. And I still haven't finished the book because I found it difficult to read. But one thing that he does say is, he's been asked over the years, and he's grieved himself. He's lost a son of his in his early 20s. Whose grief is the worst? And he just says, it's yours. So you ain't got to measure your grief and how you are and where you think you are with it against somebody else who's grieving for that same person, because it's a completely different dynamic. It's a completely different relationship. I don't feel bad about it anymore. I lost my life when I lost Matty Wilson. He was my life for 28 years, and I miss him every single day. And I don't even think there's like 10 minutes that go by now. And, it'll be his 4th anniversary of his passing. I can't honestly believe that. On 14th of December this year. And, it'll be whatever it is. I don't feel worse on those days. I want to do something to remember him on those days, but I have felt like completely smashed into smithereens when he passed, and steadily got to a point where I can have a conversation about it with you now. Do you know what I mean? And share it, because I know that it will help. It will help other people. It's being aware of others' feelings while you're trying to do everything, but making sure that you've just got to do whatever is right for you. Because at the end of the day, it's you that's got to live with this grief.
I get that. Totally. So I feel like you said, some people feel pressured that they have to feel this way. Or so I've heard people go, it's bloody ridiculous. It's been 3 years now. Or whatever. It's not bloody ridiculous. It is what it is. And when grief's done with you, it's done. There's no time limit on it. And when I say it's done, a lot of times it's not done. It just looks different. It just feels different. It just moves on in different ways. But,
sorry, go on.
No, fun, it's fine.
When they're talking about these different stages, they didn't write it as go through this, then you go through depression, then you go through. It's not like that. It's like you go in and out and in and out and in and out of it, and it hits you wherever you are. And and it's not picky. It just happens. Amount of times I've walked across the car park crying because I couldn't go into Morrison's because I couldn't walk past what we used to call chickeny bit, where you buy cooked chickens.
Yeah.
Because they'd always say, ring me when you get to chickeny bit, tell me what there is.
Yeah.
And, well, I didn't go to Morrison's and started going to Asda for a bit, and then I'm all right now. I couldn't stand the sound of an ambulance that used to send me into some sort of, I used to get palpitations and feel like someone had kicked me in the stomach, and I just said, I ain't living like this. So eventually, it is, like I say, it's 3.5 years on, I can hear it, and Matty always used to say, because his mum used to say, help for somebody, and you get through it like that, and it's just, you have got to help yourself, because you're the only person that can actually get you through it in a way, because you're the one that is sitting with yourself in the thick of it.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I would also say, and this is really hard, and I used to get so mad about this, is that the 2 words that I will always say that I have hated since I've lived with grief is time and strength. Someone who's grieving don't want to know about how strong they are, because they don't feel strong. And they don't want to be told, well, I suppose it's just time. It is timing,
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is. Everything's timing it. But just at this minute, it don't feel like this is ever going to feel any better, But just being able to just, and the other thing that I was just going to say, sorry, before I went off on a tangent, is be grateful for what you've got. Now, that sounds awful when you've lost such a love. The love doesn't die, but the person that you love and the object of that love is not in front of you anymore, but you still love that person as much. Be grateful for the fact that you've got that love. Yes, we've got this pain and we've got this absolute torment is what it is sometimes. I'm not gonna lie about it. But we've got the love, and the reason that we're grieving, the reason I'll always grieve for Matty is because I'm always going to love him. And what do I want? Do I want him to have not been in the life for 28 years so that I don't have this pain now? No, and it's trying to find that little. It's trying to. Yeah. I still don't 100% fully accept the fact that Matty had to pass. I know all the reasons why he passed, and I understand all about the blueprint when we come and when we're going to go, and I completely believe every single little bit of it. But because it's my Matty, and we all lost him, and everybody's hurt, and everybody's grieving, and it's horrendously sad, I still don't fully accept it. And I accept it to a point where, right, okay, I've got to now live. I got a job in January, but I wouldn't have been able to get a job in November or December because of all those, like I've just explained, all those anniversaries and bits and bobs that happen. But there is a way forward. but you've got to just allow yourself to get to that point where there is a way forward, because it's not supposed to feel like there's a way forward at the start. You've lost a loved one, so it's going to hurt, and you're not going to be able to function properly, and it's fine. And if you don't wash your head for a week, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You'll notice when spirit have come in, and I can remember thinking to myself, I was cleaning my teeth one morning, and I got this is before I did any spiritual development, I got this really strong, it were in my own voice, but it were me saying to myself, you're not gonna drop the way that you live. You're not gonna not have a wash, sort of thing. You're not gonna drop your standards.
Your standards, isn't it? Yeah.
And then I knew that I can get washed and I can clean my teeth and I'll have a shower every day and I can do that. That's manageable to me. It's not manageable to everybody.
No.
Eating isn't manageable. Me and Reese lost about a stone in weight in about 3 days. I don't even know how that can physically happen, but it did. So then you've got people questioning whether, are you eating? No, I'm not eating, because I'm, do you know what's happened?
Yeah.
And if you're angry, you're angry. And if you're upset, you're upset. And don't worry about crying in front of your family, because you're not upsetting them if you start crying. They're already upset. So don't be hiding it either.
Yeah.
Just let it out. Because if you have what I always call them the meltdown, because that's what they've been. But if you have a complete meltdown, that's good, because that's healing. Tears are healing, and it's getting your emotion out. It's when it doesn't come out. And the other thing that I would say quickly is, I had 14 sessions of it wasn't actually healing for grief. It were actually person-centered counselling. And that really helped, because I was talking to somebody who wasn't involved, who wasn't hurt by Mattie passing, and that could say anything that I wanted to, and that took everything that I said as, but that's okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that 1 hour every week for 14 weeks. It was supposed to be 6 weeks, then it was 10 weeks, and then I ended up having 14 sessions. But I knew that when I'd finished the sessions, I knew that I was ready. But they didn't say, your sessions have finished. They said, how do you feel about next week being your last session? And I knew that I were okay to do it, But some people shy away from things like counselling, because they think, oh no, I tried that once and I got this counsellor. Try a couple. I was really, really lucky. I got a fantastic counsellor up at Mamalands, who allowed me to have the counselling, because we'd donated all sweets off our sweet store when Mattie had passed. So they were kind enough to allow me to have that. But I don't think I could have done without that. And I've wondered sometimes if I needed to go back, but I was thinking in my spiritual development, and you can't go and have grief counselling and not bring the spiritual side of it in.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Just work through it with, yourself and be through developing more spiritually, but you just got to do whatever you see, whatever feels right to you, and not put any pressure on yourself. If you've opened your eyes at morning, you've done a good job, well done. That's what I say.
I do admire how you talk about grief, because you talk very honest about it. There's no frills about it. There's no, well, Lily, and it just is. And like you said, if some points you think, you know what, I can't even make myself put a toothbrush in my mouth, well, then that's that for that day, innit? And that's it.
Yeah.
So, fast forward now, you've just brought out your own range of products.
Yeah.
You're clever at it. Huh?
Yeah.
Tell everybody all about that brand.
Right. I have to tell everybody this as well, because I do get a little bit stuck in my own, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but I get stuck in my own funk sometimes. Sometimes I need a very well-meaning and loving and caring friend to give me a little bit of a boot up the backside. Usually it's Stacey Bauer.
Woohoo!
So she just springs things on me. Yeah, well, we're doing this retreat and you're doing your green man healing. I'm like, what? And bring some of those lotion bars that you've made. So what I'm doing is, I called it Not Much because we're from Yorkshire and we don't need to get all frilly and flowy about it. And because there's not much in it, it's just as natural as I can make it. And what at the minute I'm doing lotion bars and lip balms, and the main ingredients are olive oil, beeswax, coconut oil. Some of them got cocoa butter in them, and then it's just essential oils. Now I'm using either cold pressed oils or steam released oils. So it's not, some sort of cheapy scenty thing. It's it's the good stuff. And at the minute, I've got just a couple of balms that are made. One's made with the coconut oil, and the other one's made with the cocoa butter, beeswax, and olive oil. But then I've also made some, and you can get them in a little tub for £4.50, or you can get a lotion bar that's wrapped for £7. And at the minute, I've done sort of a hay fever relief one.
I've just put that on now. It's easy peasy.
It's good, innit?
I love it.
Yeah. So that's got like peppermint and lemon in it.
Yeah, well, I'm just breathing out now. I've just got my lips.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm just breathing out now. It's like cleared from my nostrils. Although it's like cleared besides that.
Yeah. And that's because there's quite a lot of peppermint. There's more peppermint in it than the others. Now, the other ones that I've done, I am going to do like a heat rub one with cayenne pepper in it and turmeric. And I'm going to see how that goes smell-wise with ginger, because ginger's really strong. But so that's my next one that I'm going to do. But I've done a headache one. Like, I can't remember what those things used to be called that you could get that you just rubbed on your head here and here.
Yeah.
And this is a similar sort of a thing, and it does help.
Forehead, it used to be called.
That's it. It's a similar sort of thing. Now, the reason that I wanted to do that one is because I've used a well-known brand of theirs that are different oils in it, but it really does help. It works, and it helps you. I genuinely feel like it helps like your lymph nodes and everything. I hope like there's a clearing. I'm going to look a bit more into lymph node side of things. But so I've done those two, and then the other one that I've done is a calming one, which is and lavender, and that is very, if you're putting that on your pulse points, or you're feeling a little bit nervous about anything, it's a genuinely calming balm. Is that one?
Yeah.
So everything. It sounds like I'm doing loads of stuff, and that everything's moving forward, and it is moving forward, but I still have I almost block myself, and that's just part of the grieving process, is that I shouldn't be doing this sometimes. Or, you have a bit of a bad day due to grief, and you lose your motivation a little bit. Now, some days I can get up and I can get absolutely loads of stuff done. And I feel really good about myself. And I think, do you know what? I've done that and I've done this. But I've got decorating to do in house that I started like over a year ago, and I still haven't done it. And it's not that I don't think that I should live in a nice house. And it's not that I don't like decorating. I do like decorating. But there's these little things you've just got. Even now, fair enough, it might look like a bit of a state. I don't care. It's my house. There's only me and Boo lives in it. And anybody that visits my house knows me. And if they can't cope with the fact that I've pulled half the wallpaper off and the rest of it hasn't been pulled off, then sit in your garden. Do you know what I mean?
That's what it is, then.
Because I'll do it eventually, and I'll do it when it's right for me. And I know that when I do it, I'll go the whole hog and it'll all get done all of a sudden. But, you can move forward with grief. You can move forward while you're grieving. But you can only do that if you haven't put pressure on yourself. And if you don't think that just because somebody says, oh, well, it's this many years on now, we should be at this point. These people that say things like that haven't been in this position. So you just look after yourself.
Yeah, fair enough.
If you need help, go and get help. There's GPs always know why there's help available. And, like Stacey said, if you feel like you want to go and and have some healing or a chakra balance, then go and do so, because it will help.
So if anybody, just before we wrap up, Dionne, if anybody's looking to find you, so if anybody wants to come for a green man healing, they want to come for a chakra what's that? That's a deal. Chakra balance, they want to come for readings or, any new products, where do we find you?
So I'm on Facebook, and my page is Dionne Brammah, Spirit Medium and Energy Healer. And then there's a nickname on it that's an Earth Magic Healing, because I am going to rebrand as Earth Magic Healing, because the mediumship and the healing are all healing anyway. And then I've got a separate page for Not Much, where I'm going to start putting more things on. I've sort of done the page, said what I'm selling at the minute, and then not really done the right lot. And it's just been a little bit of a confidence problem, but it ain't a confidence problem anymore. So if you start following us, that'll be lovely, but you might get bombarded with things, stuff, because I like using it, and I've got funny skin now.
I love it.
Yeah. Now, obviously, with essential oils, you have got to be careful, so it's always worth just testing it a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't had any complaints. I've had no complaints from anybody who I've given things to. But if you need to use hypoallergenic things, just do a little tester point. Other than that, it should be all right.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dionne.
You're very welcome, Stacey.
I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
I thoroughly didn't expect to be getting that question about this, though, but there you go.
There you go.
It's done now.
There you go.
And I'm sorry I keep going like this. I think it's a little bit.
It's fine.
Anyway, thank you very much, Stacey. I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat.
You as well. Speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to me, Stacey Bauer, on Guide to Spirituality podcast. If you enjoyed this chat, feel free to follow, share, or leave a review. It really helps. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and keep showing up for you. See you next time.